Hi, Michelle.
How are you?
I'm great.
It was great to see you at This Is That.
Yeah,
And now we have an opportunity here to talk to Duluth, right?
what a surprise. I mean, I'm so excited that you're running again.
Oh yeah, I'm very, very excited.
So let's talk a little bit about your background so people know why you're qualified to run for Justice of the Supreme Court.
Right, right. Well, first of all, I just want to say I'm Michelle MacDonald, and I'm running for Minnesota Supreme Court Justice. It's statewide, so we're getting the word out statewide. When I get elected, I will be the first Minnesota Supreme Court Justice to be elected in 40 years. That's because even though Minnesota and all of us Minnesotans have the right to vote for judges, our right has been usurped by the governor of our state because they end up allowing judges to vacate a seat. Like, for instance, Ruth Gator Ginsburg died, right? Her seat got vacated. Somebody needs to appoint another justice. In Minnesota, they vacate their seats if they're retiring or if they're sick or even if the judge is in trouble, they vacate their seats, which allows the governor to appoint. And that person runs as an incumbent even though they've never been elected by the citizens of Minnesota.
Well, Michelle, let me see if this can be more clear to not only myself but the viewers. Does the law state that they are supposed to be elected, or do they die midterm of that particular time frame? Is there exactly the number of years that you run and then you come up for an election, or how does this actually work so people really understand the process?
My term when I get elected, because I'm very positive, is going to be for 6 years. Okay, so every 6 years, you might if I actually am voted in by all of you, it will be since the 1940s that Minnesota Supreme Court Justice has been voted in, because they do this trick where they're not really elected by the people, all of them are appointed. Now, when they run 6 years from now, they run as an incumbent, they've been appointed before, and most of our judges across our state are running unopposed. This year, for instance, there are 128 judges across our state that are, quote, running. Only 4 of them, I believe, are opposed in the entire state of Minnesota. I'm just the only one on the statewide.
Wow, that is truly amazing. I interviewed you in Duluth, in the studio, Michelle. How many years ago now was that?
I think it was 2 years ago.
It seems so much longer than that. But okay, let's talk about what is your background in law and what you've done in this period of time. How long have you been an attorney? And what type of cases have you majorly handled?
Well, I'll talk a little bit about my family. I am married. I have raised 4 children. And while raising a family, family is very important to me, faith and family, I'm a practicing attorney for 33 years. So for 33 years, I have represented thousands of Minnesotans across the state before hundreds of judges at every level of the court system, even the court I'll be running for, the Minnesota Supreme Court. I've done over 60 appeals, which is a lot of appeals, and even to the U.S. Supreme Court. So that's what I do, and I have my own law practice most of this time, managing my own law practice, managing other attorneys and staff. For 22 of those years, I was a small claims court judge in Hennepin County, which is a very busy county, and also a family court referee. I received a Years of Service Award for my work on my service on the Hennepin County Small Claims Court. What I'm most proud of is a nonprofit that I started. It's called Family Innocence. It's a nonprofit dedicated to keeping families out of court, resolving conflicts and injustices peacefully, and there I'm volunteer, president, board member, and I do mediations. We do what's called restorative mediation circles, And I also teach it, so we have some teachings coming up, and we've done them in the past to teach people some ways of conflict resolution.
What do you think the rate is of those families in conflict and coming up with a resolution that doesn't
I think
be detrimental to the
I
family?
think the rate could be 100%. And we don't need courts in our homes or in our families. We have just
Where did we leave off? Well, we were talking about how valuable it is to do some remediation and not end up in court. And I was curious about maybe like your success rate or how you feel that has been working. You feel it's been a successful way to deal with these problems? Not always, of course, but
successful. It's hard. It's harder to talk somebody into trying to invest in resolving a conflict than trying to spend money in suing. It's just hard. I spend a lot of energy talking people out of lawsuits. And this is family members. They don't really realize they're getting into a lawsuit. I think part of it is they want to have control over their future. So what I've tried to tell them is our family innocence process is a process, and court is a process. Our process is a consent process. Court is a not consent process. And we do have a process, there's time frames and things like that, just like court, but they feel as if, if they serve a summons and somebody has to answer, that they're in control of the process. And it's just harder. I spend a lot of energy talking people out of court.
well, along that same vein, we are talking a lot of money when they go into court. Are these people that you're representing, are they low income, middle income, every level of society that's being affected by these things? And I'm looking for a comparison of who's willing to listen. Those people that realize it's going to be a lot of money if I go into court, or is it just kind of an overall feeling on your part that people just go to court because we've kind of been educated that way? Do you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I do. We have been educated that way. And in restorative work, we all have that flame of resolving our conflict. It's just from when we're little, you can see little kids, they have arguments and then they love each other. But that we lose it as we get into the world. We start to be fearful, and instead of full of love, going forward in love, and so it's really the lawyers, my profession, that have created this adversarial process. That's how we're trained to take sides, to fight for a side, and that's not going to result. It only results in an adversarial process. There's no need for court at all. Can I say something about COVID? COVID has, without a doubt, convinced me that I was right all along, that we don't need court for families, because it closed down. Families couldn't go there, so they didn't get to go there, and they didn't go there. And so I was right. And part of our family innocence process was towards the tail end, if first of all things could be resolved, there would be agreements, we didn't need to go to court, but towards the tail end we might have to do some court just to get things firmed up, because our laws now say you can't get a termination of marriage without a court order, so we at least get that. Now with COVID, we developed a process where we use our decision makers, which are retired judges, as what are called consensual special magistrates. So when people have agreements, we're just going to do a Zoom meeting with them and then just file what we need to file in court.
Can we look at when you're elected to become a justice here in Minnesota? Can we look at that process, even on the Supreme Court level? Is that a possibility that we could do more of that?
Absolutely. They already, it was a strangest phenomenon because what I was doing with family innocence before court, I mean, before anybody even thought of court, people would come in and we start our process, our family innocence process, this consent process. Now we do it in circle. We have what's called the Be Still moment. We do listening exercises. We pass a talking piece around so that everybody gets to be heard and speak before the next person does. So, and we connect people. We use this dialogue process that connects people heart to heart, and then we end with agreed actions. So to your point, absolutely, positively, yes. They were already requiring mediation when you appeal, which is crazy. You've been through a court trial. You've now appealed because you think the judge was wrong down below. That's why you'd appeal. You'd say judge errors. The judge erred down below. But they started to require mediation at that level, and I'm just like, why didn't they go back to where I was coming from? So
It's
do you
like
see?
Putting the cart before the horse in a
right,
sense.
in a sense, yes. So I know it can happen, and I know that we can implement it across the state of Minnesota. We can do the restorative circles. Last year, starting on All Saints Day, and I remember when I decided to do this class, God was definitely with me. It was a busy time in my life, but I said, somebody came to work for full-time volunteer for family innocence, said, Michelle, you're doing God's work. I want to just come and help you. Her name was Marie, and I'm like, what am I going to have you do? Well, I guess I got to get her trained in mediation. And to this point, we had sent people off. We got some discounts for a mediation course, and she looked and saw that there were no mediation courses available while she was there. I didn't want to wait to train her. So I said, you know what? I think I have a training that I want to do. And I developed this course. It was a 46-hour restorative circle mediation training. We got it certified by the Alternative Dispute Resolution Supreme Court Judicial Branch. And then I learned, as I'm doing this course and getting my books ready and actually doing the course and getting it certified at the same time, I'm hoping that it's certified, and it was faith-based, that there hadn't been a new family mediation course for years in the state of Minnesota. So I'm like, this is something new. We created a brand new mediation. It's called restorative circle mediation. So we have evaluative mediation, and we have narrative mediation, and we have facilitative mediation, and there's one other mediation. I think it's just standard mediation. And now we developed in Minnesota restorative circle mediation. And I'm just so excited about it. It's through family innocence. And it wasn't just me. I mean, I had doctors teaching it and judges teaching it. But my thread went through it, of course. I was teaching the class throughout. And we're teaching another class starting November 1, our second annual class. So now we trained 24 restorative circle mediators in our last class. I'm getting a little long-winded, aren't I? Am I even answering her question anymore?
Yes, I believe you
Sorry.
are. No, you're explaining it to people.
We're starting another class. It's a new way. Oh, let me tell you, restorative justice, it's all over the world, okay? It's not like something I just discovered it in 2012. I was in the adversarial process. I was an attorney. Nobody was going to tell me about restorative work. But we had this family innocence event. We have it every month, every first of the month, until our mission is complete, which I think I told you, family innocence is dedicated to keeping families out of court and resolving conflicts and injustices peacefully. And our judge, Judge Bruce Peterson, I always brag about him. Hi, Bruce Peterson, if you're out there. He just retired. He brought a restorative circle practitioner to one of our events. His name was John Miser, to introduce me to this work. And they had learned it 10 years prior, and I went out and studied with Dominic Barter, one of the world's foremost peacemakers, brought some people from Family Innocence with me, and we brought it back to implement in the family of community, which is your first family, right? You come home from the hospital, and you're with these people, and they happen to be your family. So it's your first community, and that's the most fundamental community.
This might be kind of a loaded question, Mary, but that's what's coming to mind as I'm talking, listening to you. Tell me what you're doing. The destruction of the family has ramifications that we're seeing hundredfold today. Do you think the courts are partly responsible for that? Because
Absolutely, they're responsible for it. Oh yeah, there are 5 points, but I think the people are also responsible for going there, allowing the court to have jurisdiction over their lives. Think about this. So this is more what I want to educate. I want to educate the people that they have control not to go to court. And they do, and you might say, well, I got served papers by a spouse, but what I've been doing is actually raising jurisdictional issues with my clients. So you think about this, okay, you get married, you get this marriage certificate, you have babies, maybe buy a house, you pay the mortgage, you have jobs. There's no laws except the law of love and caring that in raising a family. And then all of a sudden you decide to break up, and I show this in my class, this big, thick family law book comes into play. Oh, okay, now that we're breaking up, we have all these rules, regulations, and laws relating to the family that's broken up. So that comes, and sometimes you're reeled in. Somebody, either the court goes, jurisdiction, somebody from the court goes out and grabs you, or there is a petition served. But we end up just submitting to jurisdiction and filing petitions that say we want our rights that we already have by virtue of raising a family. We already have rights to our children. Why do we have to go to courts and lawmakers to get rights to our own children that we gave birth to? And so forth. So yes, it's the courts, and I think I started to say 5.7 million domestic orders a year. Last I counted, and that I think was in 2012. So now where are we at? Okay, I have that on the website. It's probably worse right now, but just think of it, a year. 5.7 million domestic orders a year. So that would at least involve two people, right? A husband and a wife, or a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and then you have the children that are involved. And when you talk about a year, these orders are lasting. They don't just last for a year. They might last for 5 years, or 6 years, or 7 years, or 10 years, until the children age out, or until the support's been paid in full. And just think about how the third branch, our courts, are in our homes, telling us when we can see our children, how much money we have to pay, how much money we have to make. They do things like impute income in every state now. So if you're not making enough, and I had a lawyer I was representing, and the other attorney actually was arguing to the judge that he should be making more money as a lawyer, and so he should be paying more child support, and that's called imputing income. It gets worse. It gets worse. So now they're actually imputing income to somebody who has just a job as a realtor. Maybe they could say, oh, we're going to impute more income. So imagine this. Imputing income means you're saying that somebody makes income that they actually don't have. Okay, that's imputing income. In order to assess child support or what have you. They even impute income to mothers that have never worked. Well, we think you can go out and make this much, and there's a minimum imputation rate. And it's, so think about this. Let's say, and then they assess child support. So let's say our government imputed income for purposes of taxes, okay, and they said, you know what, we think that you can make more money, and we're just going to assess taxes based on what we think you can make. Okay, we're doing that to our families, and and it's false, it's fake, it's unfair, it's unjust.
And it's causing poverty. It is destroying the lives of those children who are in this situation that they have no control over, and some children take the blame that mommy and daddy, and we have more and more problems in our society. From what you're just saying now, that's an implication of part of the problem. And I'm glad you explained that to our listeners, because most people have no clue, as I did, what this is all about. But
well, you know what? I'm just going to say I had no clue. When I first founded Family Innocence, I remember talking with my brother for 4 hours trying to explain what we do. And at the end of the 4 hours, he said to me, "You mean divorce is a lawsuit?" I go, "Yeah," because I knew it was. He goes, "That's all you have to say. Divorce is a lawsuit. Michelle, that's all you have to say." And I'm like, "Okay, thank you." So I have to untrain my legal brain, and I used to say that I was in a box, and then okay, here's the box over here, I'm outside of the box, but now I'm like, no boxes. We have to stop all this bureaucracy that's happening, and we're being operated by pieces of paper that tell us when we can see our kids, when we can't see our kids, and how much money we have to make, and how much money we have to pay, and we're not, and we're just losing the love and companionship, that kind of support that you just can't put in dollars and cents.
Well, Mary, you've opened my eyes to a lot more questions, but it's getting kind of late, and I just have to say, I've known families that have been torn apart by divorce, and those children's lives are affected majorly by that. And when you're elected to Supreme Court in the state of Minnesota, I know that you would be an influence to make those changes. So I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to sit here and talk, and I hope people will listen and make some right choices, because a lot of what we're facing in so many ways, as we heard earlier with the speakers that went before you, most people haven't got a clue what's going on in their society, and we've lost our rights. We've lost our rights so much that it's going to take a lot.
We're allowing it to happen, and
well, ignorance, I think, is a lot of the problem.
Yeah, ignorance, and there's a great awakening happening right now. When I become your Minnesota Supreme Court Justice, I will protect your fundamental rights by eliminating the bureaucracy in the judicial system to restore faith and fairness and justice for all.
Well, I want you to take a moment now to tell people how they can get in touch with you. You have a website? Do you have ways to contact Facebook or any of those alternative media?
I do. I have a website, and I'm running statewide again. So it's MacDonald for Justice, MacDonald for Justice, and Facebook. You'll see it on the website. And then there's a telephone number. My office is in West St. Paul, and the phone number is my cell phone on my card, and 612-554-0932.
One more time.
612-554-0932, and I've always had my personal cell phone on my campaign card. It's never been abused. Anybody who calls me, they're surprised that I answer it. And what I say to myself now is, I used to say I'm available 24/7, so call me anytime, but I'm really available 24/7 to the good Lord, and He puts people in my path like Marcia here to just be able to be a voice for justice.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time and giving us an interview.
Okay.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Marcia.
Nice
See you
talking
again.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.